Hi, everyone. I'm here with several people, and we're going to have a really interesting conversation today. So I am here with Nathan Ormond, Ethan Micheal, and Craig Reed. And we come from different perspectives, different walks of life, different backgrounds. And so we're going to talk today a little bit about what we've discovered since we've sort of come out of the closet in our different respective ways. So Craig and I, not too long ago, maybe for me, it's about 2012, 2013, discovered or rediscovered, I should say, Christianity. And so I call myself a Christian apologist now. I think Craig does too. But then we also have Ethan, who I think 5 or 6 years ago, I think it was, he became an atheist. And so he's been running a Your Friendly Neighborhood Atheist channel. And so you can see him right now in the chat. And then there's Nathan. And Nathan was, from my understanding, Nathan was an agnostic. He's from the UK. He was an agnostic, and then he was a Christian. And then he met these kind of Christians who were super constraining. I think they were kind of went a little bit overboard. And so then Nathan got on Doug Pine Creek's channel, and Pine Creek started asking him some big, deep questions and kind of changed Nathan's views back to an agnostic. So we've got a really interesting group here. So let me go ahead and just turn it over to you guys to introduce yourselves. And I'm not sure which one you want to start with, but let's go.
Nathan?
Yeah, sure. So everything you said about me is true. Yeah, just I guess I originally started my channel to do apologetics and stuff, and then spoke to I was very kind of dogmatic in my views, and spoke to some people who forced me to kind of change my perspective, not in like a malicious way, just because the ideas weren't holding up. So my channel's kind of a bit of a documentation of my journey and some conversations, and then also some random stuff about like maths, logic, and computer science in there that I'm doing as well. It doesn't really have a specific purpose. Yeah.
Good. So thank you so much, Nathan. I also just really quickly, thank you, John Lloyd, for the super chat. I just spotted that, so I appreciate that. Let's go over to Ethan.
Well, I'm Ethan Micheal, your friendly neighborhood atheist. I started YouTubing about 4 months ago. I believe it was February 4th. Is when I had my first debate with a fellow Christian. And since then, it's just been, I just started running as fast as I could and talking to as many people as I could, because I just enjoy having conversations. I like knowing what other people think, why they think it. And I really, really like showing that not all atheists are evil, since a lot of people seem to think that. So I enjoy spreading awareness and correcting the
spreading the love of
spreading the love and joy of
atheism,
and to show that atheists can be hopeful and happy too.
Okay, so that's actually how. So I went on your channel, and I think Craig, you've met Craig before, and so so we have differing views, but I do think that between you and Nathan, you two are the faces of the new. Let's get rid of new atheists. Let's say this new sort of type of atheist or agnostic who's coming onto the scene, who's really a regular guy that everybody can get along with. And so you're not coming onto the scene saying you're eating babies and putting out like an R and Ra kind of view out there. You're coming online with a friendly demeanor. And so actually you have a better case for converting people to your beliefs than somebody like R and Ra. Because I watch R and Ra and I think, no way. There's no way that guy could be influencing me to do anything.
Well, I think the most important thing that people miss is they would rather talk than listen. And when you listen, you build a bond with the person, they trust you more, and they're more open to your opinion because they feel heard. So I just wish more people would take that approach, because I don't think getting in someone's face and just saying you're wrong because this actually does anything.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's a very good theory. And so let's go over to Craig. Craig, what's new with you?
Yes, decidedly less strident than Aaron Ra, I would say the friendly neighborhood atheist is. Hi, my name is Craig Reed, and I became a Christian either 2000 or 2001, but I didn't get on Twitter till about 4 or 5 years ago. And I started out I was watching YouTube videos by like well-known atheists like Jacqueline Glenn and the Amazing Atheist. And there was this guy Thunderfoot, I'm not sure if he's still around, and this girl Christina Rad. And that was before it ever occurred to me that I could do the same thing. But I was watching them, and then I started a Twitter feed, and then started kind of doing makeshift apologetics on Twitter. And now I have a YouTube channel, Craig Reed TCR. And I do a lot of what I do is just put out videos on whatever topic is on my mind, and then also interviewing atheists. Next week, I'm going to be interviewing the wife of genetically modified skeptic. So that should be
really?
fun next Wednesday. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Genetically modified skeptic. What's that guy's real name? Is that Drew?
That's true.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
she's really nice. I've been.
He looks way too
Dan.
young to be married. How old is it? I thought he was like 18.
No, he's like 20. I'm going to guess 26.
Oh,
but
wow.
That could be wrong.
Okay.
And she's around the same age. She was like a real Christian too. She was like, I think she went to Liberty University, and I'm not sure if she's actually an atheist now, but she might be. I'm going to find out, because he deconverted first, and they were married, and I don't know. I don't really know the full story. I'm going to hear it from her words, but that should be fun. She's really nice, really nice.
Interesting. So that's definitely interesting. So let's go into what have you guys discovered in your travels? Because all of us have been coming onto places like social media and Twitter and YouTube and maybe some other places. Maybe you guys, I know Nathan's got an active Discord account. And so that you've been on doing all these things, what have you discovered about people in your travels? So what have you discovered? Here, I'll start it off. I discovered that I never want to tweet out the words. There's 3 words that I will never tweet out. Okay. They are Christianity cures depression.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
So why I won't do that is because I did do that one time, and it got picked up by a bunch of atheists. I think it was followed up by a whole bunch of responses. I want to say maybe 500 to 600 responses on Twitter, and then people were making videos about it. And I thought, I don't even want this kind of attention. Go away. And so I won't do that again. So that was my learned lesson on Twitter. So does anyone else here have any sort of lessons you've learned or things you've learned about people since going on there and sharing your views?
I have personally learned that for as many helpful and amazingly supportive atheists there are out there, there is a whole bunch that are not, and will pick you apart in a heartbeat, and do not have the ability to turn that criticism on themselves. Like, I actually get a little frustrated with some of them, because they'll be the first to get in a Christian's or another theist's face, telling them how wrong they are, and just aggressively going after them. And then sit there and say, oh, but I'm a secular humanist. I care about everybody. No, you don't. Not if you're out there lashing out at Christians, Muslims, talking to them like they're less than a human being and hiding under the guise of secular humanism. That, I will say, I learned very quickly.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The first type of people I dealt with on Twitter, I don't really deal with them all that much now, because I can kind of see them coming a mile away. But there's 2 types of people who are doing this, and there's people like your friendly neighborhood atheist here, who are actually like honest people, and like they're doing what they're doing because they honestly believe it, and you can have real conversations with them. And then there's this whole bunch of people who are kind of like lashing out at other people under the banner of atheism, and they'll kind of just like spit in your face because you're a Christian, and that's really all they're doing. They're not doing anything else. It's not even about like having a conversation with you or even trying to convince you. And like, I remember saying it to one guy when I was first on Twitter. I was like, dude, you're the exact same thing as a KKK guy. It's just your prejudice against Christians as opposed to African Americans, but you're the exact same type of person. And it's really, it's not a huge chunk of people, but I'd say it's like 25-30% in their community.
Yeah, I would say that seems pretty fair. And Puck, I see Puck in the audience, by the way. Puck, you have the link if you want to join us.
Come on, Puck, jump on.
Speaking of hateful atheists, who do nothing but hate, Puck, you can join us and give us an example.
Puck is hilarious.
Throw chairs at Stephanie and like call her a dumb Christian.
Actually, one of the first ways I came in contact with first, actually, your friendly neighborhood atheist sent me a direct message. You followed me on Twitter, and that's how we got connected. But then I started watching a few of his videos, and I saw this hilarious video where Puck was basically instructing the friendly neighborhood atheist on all of these different beliefs that Christians have. So he was talking about the cosmological argument, the teleological. He was giving you the lowdown.
It was atheism 101.
Yeah, It's just like, yeah, new day to atheism and stuff. It was really funny. I liked it.
Yeah, it was a really good time, and it also once again showed I am just the average guy. I do not know this stuff as well as I'd like to, but I just got tired of not doing anything. So I just jumped on a computer and started doing it.
That's actually the lesson of Twitter and YouTube. Just start putting stuff out. If you that's what you should say to everybody, Christian or atheist. Just start making content. Feel it out as you go. That's what I would say. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, I
do
think
have
that's
a question.
fair.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I do have a question for Nathan. What particularly convinced you to give up Christianity and go to agnosticism?
I don't know if it was any one particular thing. I mean, I think throughout my time in Christianity, I was at some level aware of when I was like rationalizing things that didn't make sense. And I think it was just like something made me just realize the bias that I'd been applying to these things, because either I was so scared of hell or wanted the group to accept me, or so, like some combination of these things. And then I guess I just started breaking down really, like, when did I start to believe, for example, that a man resurrected from the dead based on the evidence that's available? And did I actually like really look into this evidence, or was I ever convinced by the argument, or was it just because I was kind of in an environment and I felt a bit like pressured to go up and take communion, and then you've got to adopt all the rest of the beliefs and things, and now you're singing the hymns every week, and that feels a bit stupid because there's stupid lyrics in them. But like now I've got to be like, well, this is what it just kind of became my identity, and I was like, I didn't think about this. I just got kind of carried away and caught up in it as a vulnerable person. Yeah.
So are you open to Christianity? Like, are there things that could convince you?
I mean, I think there are things that could convince me it was true. Sure. But I also think at this point, for example, like if something like Calvinism were true, I'd be so like, I wouldn't want to be that kind, not that I'd have a choice in it, but I wouldn't want to be that kind of a Christian that worship that God. Yeah.
How did you become a Christian again, Nathan? Did you go to were you at a sermon and somebody did an altar call or something? Or, I don't remember how you actually became a Christian originally.
Yeah, so when I was like 20-ish, and I'd been kind of into Jordan Peterson stuff for around about a year, and I got into like kind of like the myth of Christ as an archetype of suffering and how to act and stuff like that. So I thought I'll go along to a local Bible study, which I did to kind of dig into these things more. But then, like I'd go off with all these like psychological, mythological archetypes, and like the group would be like, no, this is real. This is tethered to reality, or like, and I just started, I think, inch by inch adopting the group beliefs, because it was like I'd get like a negative feedback whenever I'd like talk about things from like a naturalist perspective, a psychological perspective, and positive feedback whenever like I tethered things to actual historical events. And over time that, and going along to like this thing called Christianity Explored, which is quite emotionally manipulative, and Sunday sermons and stuff like that, I just eventually ended up kind of being full-blown Christian at some point.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. I'm trying to figure out. Dan wants to come in here, so I'm trying to get him a link. So hold on 1 second. You guys keep talking. I'm trying to figure out, get my computer going here.
Nathan, what did you learn in your time doing this?
I don't know. One thing I learned today is that SJ thinks communism is connected to Satan. So that could be.
It's true.
I learned that today too.
That is my view. And actually, I will tell you what, Stefan Molyneux just got kicked off of YouTube, and he's a huge anti-communist person. And so I'm kind of afraid of saying anything political for the next few months on YouTube, because it looks like they're ferreting out anybody who's anti-communist, because that's major. I mean, that's a big part of Stefan Molyneux.
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, he also does, like, you know about like him convincing people to run away from their parents and not have contact with them, and
no, I don't know about that.
So the thing what he does is has all the features of a cult, like the way the payment system works, the kind of groupthink and stuff. It's he's not. I wouldn't just because there's this one thing you kind of like identify with him on. I'd be a bit wary of he's a bit of a weird guy.
Yeah, I know he had I mean, I can say I can kind of empathize with him in one way, is that I heard he had a pretty bad upbringing, and I heard his
Right.
mom apparently was quite abusive towards him. And so I can kind of see why he's the way he is towards women, which I don't agree with his views at all towards women. He basically thinks we need to be barefoot and pregnant in the home, and that only the men can go out there and make money. And I'm sitting here making money in my home, and I think that that's not the correct approach. I think it's perfectly fine if the female wants to work. But the other thing I don't agree with him on is, of course, he's an atheist, and he's pretty vocal about that. But I do agree with him on the other views, which I don't want to talk about too much. But I can say that, yes, I think communism, I think what happened last century with the slaughter of 120 million people, I do think there's dark forces behind that. If you just want to say dark forces, I'll be okay with that, if you don't want to say the leader of the dark forces.
Well, so I suppose it's more like so when V kind of said, how could you tell the difference? I didn't really see in your explanation though where Satan came into that, because like everything you said seemed to me to be attributable to just the way humans behave and are. Like I couldn't see what brought into that, like a spiritual dimension or the being called Satan or whatever.
It probably will take a little bit to unpack, but I can, and I'm trying to look, and I don't see Dan here in the group here, so I'm trying to go back to the other screen, but it takes a little bit to unpack. But if I go back and I start to what brought Christianity about, there I can see the opposite. And so if I look at the idea of Christianity over the past 2,000 years and go back to Tom Holland's book on Dominion, and I look at how Christianity has been a very positive influence, and also has exalted this idea of the individual and given individuals value and individuals right, no matter what your place in life is. So even the poorest and the richest are basically all considered equal in the eyes of God. And so Christianity ushered that new idea in. And so when I look at the opposite, where I look at communism, and this is the idea that the individual doesn't matter. The group is the only thing that matters, and the welfare of the group is the only thing that matters. And so if you're an individual farmer and you've been very successful operating on your farm, the group is the one that should be benefiting from that. So what Stalin did is they actually took the farmers' goods and they sent it off to the cities, and the farmers weren't even allowed to retain morsels of their own food that they had produced for their kids. And so if you have something like that going on, I can say that's I just feel like there's dark forces behind that, because these people ended up starving to death. Those who complained were outed by their neighbors. 1/3 of the population basically was snitching on the neighbors about not being in favor of communist ideals. And the people who were reported were essentially shipped off to Siberia, where they got off these buses or trains and had nothing to live on. I mean, they had to live on whatever clothing they came in, and they had to figure out how to survive and not die. And many of them starved there. And so I look at that and I say, that is so evil that there has to be something just beyond plain humans that actually was behind some of that. So that's my view, essentially.
So
Plus,
like
they made a religion out of the state. It was like one way you could look at it that you'd probably be more sympathetic to is if you take away religious institutions and you start replacing it with a quasi-mystical attachment to state power, and the state is trying to enforce and ritualize your behavior, that's kind of what happened. It was like that's how Peterson would describe it, as a replacement, as a quasi-religion or a pseudo-religion of the state, trying to enforce beliefs as if it were a religion. So there's, I'm sympathetic to that point of view, that there's spiritual darkness there. At least it's trying to replace, I don't know exactly how I would phrase it though.
So how would you tell the difference between someone doing something of their own volition that was evil, or someone doing something under the influence of Satan that was evil?
I don't want to say that. Actually, I want to say that, how would I distinguish that? I look at, I'm trying to think of what video I just listened to that was really much on this. Okay, I've been listening to and reading a lot of Michael Heiser's stuff lately. And Michael Heiser said something really interesting, is he looks at verses in the Bible, such as Ephesians 6, where Paul talks about a hierarchy of darkness. Essentially, there's the rulers, the powers, the authorities, and there's a geographical hierarchy, and there's this power, there's these other forces. And he basically said something interesting. He said that they're all different dimensions of darkness out there, from the lowest level demons that basically would be the ones who would be bugging individuals at that level. And then to the highest level, top of the hierarchy, where you've got like Satan at the very top, which he had said to Jesus when he was on the mountain showing him all of the kingdoms. You've got these different levels in between. And so he said something interesting, like, if you actually want to be influential on the globe, the lowest level, they're going to maybe talk to people at the individual level, but the upper level echelon would basically be going after the highest levels of people in society. So going after the politicians and the media and that sort of thing, and trying to infiltrate them with bad ideas. And so I feel like when I see some of the things going on, when I see people acting in completely irrational ways, such as Stalin was when he actually stood there watching millions of people die, I see something like that and I say, that's so irrational and so completely out of there. I feel like there had to be some sort of a dark force behind some of it. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's only Stalin doesn't have free will. I definitely think Stalin had free will, but I think that there's also other forces influencing him.
I'm just so how we can tell the difference between someone doing something of their own volition and Satan's evil influence is because Micheal Heiser has a degradation of demonic beings, and the nation state was in. I don't understand how that helps us to tell the difference between Satan causing evil in people or just like people doing things.
I don't know. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, I don't even know if there's a way to distinguish that, Nathan. I'm saying it's a suspicion that I have that there are some dark forces behind some of the communist ideals out there. So I would say Marx himself was probably heavily influenced by dark forces, but that doesn't mean that I can't prove it to you that he was influenced by dark forces. I'm just saying it seems to make sense to me to help provide an explanation for some of the evil that we've seen in the world.
Okay.
All my content is influenced by dark forces.
Okay, so we have Dan Green, who's here right now. He also goes by Deconverted Man. So Dan, did you want to introduce yourself?
You want me to do my thing? Deconverted Man here. There, I did my thing. Goodbye, everybody.
So you probably can guess Dan's position. He's deconverted from Christianity, right, Dan?
Correct.
Okay, so we've got a variety in here.
You've got your jaded skeptic here.
Yeah, that's why I called this free for all, because I figured I'd open it up to you guys so you guys can, have at it, talk about your opinions, your vieys, all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I was excited to see Craig. I've been able to talk to him for a while. And Nathan, I just made a video that I absolutely fangirled over because it's logic, and I'm like, oh my god, logic! Yeah, I'm all over this one. And I tried to message him on Discord, but he wasn't there. So I was like, whatever, fine. Because he was here, I guess. All right, that's fine.
No, that's funny. Hey, I want to say thank you to Stupid Horror Energy, who's Sarah, she says, I am Pazazu, which I'm not sure what Pazazu is. What is that?
That's the demon from Poltergeist.
Oh.
Or not Poltergeist. The Exorcist. Sorry.
Okay, from like the 1970s, that movie?
Yeah.
How in the world do you remember that?
I saw a bunch of reviews.
He watches it every night.
Yeah, I watch it every night. It keeps getting funnier. That's from Beetlejuice. Okay.
What I'm trying to say that I feel like some of the stuff just because one of the reasons why I think communism has is because it's the antithesis of what Christianity is. And so that's why I feel like there's an antithesis going on there with this idea of devaluing humans and devaluing the individual versus the idea that for the last 2,000 years, Christianity's been elevating humans and individuals regardless of what their social position is.
So what would you say to are you aware of liberation theology, for example?
No, I'm not aware of that.
So it's the idea that within the early church, it was basically about the redistribution of wealth to the poor.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
I've given a lot of thought to that because, I did see that. You notice that in the book of Acts, like, for example, we noticed when a couple people tried to cheat the church out of they said they sold everything when they really didn't sell everything. They said they sold everything when this couple, when they really, and they didn't give everything forward to the church. They were condemned and they died on the spot. And so that was something that scared people. But I think that you can have communes at low levels, like family level communes, or maybe even family and close friends level communes, which was kind of how I'm viewing early Christians. But once you get to gigantic countries like Russia, USSR, that just doesn't work anymore. Communism does not work at the higher levels when you have millions of people in a population, or even probably thousands of people in a population. I think it might be effective in very small groups like what you see in Israel and in the communists. But what I can say for early Christianity is I go back to the parable of the talents. And in the parable of the talents, it made it quite clear that actually capitalist ideals are pretty good. God expects you to take your talents and use them and invest them. And when you don't, you're going to be punished. And so that's the idea that I back. And so I look at that as being a good model for Christianity.
Do you think, sorry, you go ahead, whoever.
No, this is slightly off topic, but I do want to interject just because I was talking about this earlier, my frustration with certain atheists. So I put the YouTube link to this video on my personal Facebook. It said, jumping on another Christian channel. And I get, why? And I said, why not? And this person proceeds to say they're all crazy, followed by an explicit word, and then insists that I am just an atheist troll. I'm not a real atheist. I'm just like apparently pretending, and proceeds to block me because they're all crazy as another word. And it's like,
wow, that's pretty scary, actually.
Right,
that's like
that's really crazy.
It is. I don't
you
want to be a part of that crowd.
you find that a decent amount. Not to that level, but I would say 5 to 10% of the people who are walking around under the banner of atheism are that just constantly combative, like what on earth is wrong with you? I'm really good at avoiding them because you can usually tell 1 or 2 tweets in, but I'll give people a chance. Like there are some people who are a little bit like that, who I'll give them a chance to come back and be normal a different time. But there's a lot of that. There's a fair amount of that, where people are just, I've heard people say that in chats. Like I was talking about Laura Robinson, I think in Pine Creek's chat. And someone goes, Laura Robinson isn't reasonable. And I said, why did you say that? And the girl goes, she's a Christian, therefore not reasonable. Okay, that's a rational position.
I mean, it's only 2 billion people on the planet, I guess, who are unreasonable and crazy.
All right. Hey, Craig, how dare you say that I'm combative? You want to fight about it?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think, Dan, you've actually calmed down quite a bit. I have to say, you seem like you were definitely... Don't you think? I think Dan's calmed down.
I've gotten
Dan
more
is
jaded
always,
over time. What are you talking about?
He's
no,
more
you've
combative.
mellowed.
No, he's more combative, but he's Dan. It's not the same thing. He's like your crazy uncle because he's got a likable side.
Yeah, I gotta have the humor, but it depends on the claim and it depends on the person and everything and like the surrounding situation or whatever. Like you were saying, SJ with your infamous tweet where I had to eat you for it, and I had to kind of rake you over the coals for it, and you're like, okay, well, I learned my lesson. Like, yeah, okay, good. And if it, it's like, well, it depends on the person, because some people, they're fine, and some people are making such a wild claim that it has to be eaten, and that it just depends, and I just can't quit SJ. I mean, she makes stuff and I have to comment on it. Like, I'm like, oh god, that's a tweet.
But you haven't commented in the longest time, Dan.
Yeah,
I haven't even seen you on Twitter.
Look, yeah, well, I mean,
I thought you disappeared, and then all of a sudden
I'm there. I'm just, I've got, there's so many things I gotta, like, all the madness lately. The 2020 decided
pandemic, and I mean, I can't. Black Lives, everything that's going on right now. I can't even believe this world.
2020 is just insane. That's all there is to it. And then,
if I was a Christian, I would think it was the end of the world. I'll just say that.
No, I was thinking that. No, I was actually saying, like, people are going to say that, that somebody was talking about, oh, there's the solar activity is going to be increasing, and I'm like, don't give 2020 any more ideas.
Right, exactly. even atheists have been tweeting end time stuff. Renee put out a tweet that was like, I don't believe in end times, But and he tweets this like Target that was being broken into by like 50 people. It's like, but if there's an end times, this is end times, guys.
You should see the Target in Tampa near me. It's about a half hour from where I live.
They surrounded the police, Stephanie.
Yeah, I know. That's like Tampa
right
too.
Near you, right?
Yes,
they called the police there because there were shots fired, and then like 100 people surrounded all the cops' cars and started throwing. That was like right down near you, right?
Oh, see,
one half hour away from me. It's right across from USF where it happened.
That's
and
what
they broke into a Target there too. Like 300 people all went flying into this Target, and they got the whole thing on film. All these people pouring into the Target where they broke through the front door.
Hey, that's my neighbor. Wait a minute, that's my neighbor.
I was looking at that because I wanted to see if I recognized anybody.
Oh my God, my son.
They shouldn't have called it Target. Yeah.
That was crazy.
That's actually pretty funny.
But I mean, no, seriously though. I mean, like, because I had, what was it? I don't even know. Feels like a couple days ago, but it's longer that there was 2 murders right outside my front door, just so to speak.
Oh my gosh.
Where's that?
Right in my right in the street right in front of where I live.
Well, what state are you in?
South Carolina.
Okay.
So is that a city or just a town?
Oh, I'm in a very small little town. You know, I don't want to.
Wow.
I had put up the news articles about it, and then I was like, "Oh, bleep! I'm doxing myself," so I took those down. I don't want people to know where I am. But
I don't blame you, because people are crazy out there.
But
especially with the ladies, Deconverted man, stupid whore energy.
Well,
she's in the audience. She'll come looking for you, and
Okay. What? But it's one thing you hear about violence and whatever on the news. It's very distant and it's abstract. But when you hear the gunshots,
oh my God,
that's scary.
That's very scary.
I heard, I heard them arguing, and it's like, oh, there they go again, because these people, when they first moved in, they started doing music and these parties and all this nonsense, and it was like, calling the police on them, calling the manager every single day and night to, and they would argue and stuff, and I heard them arguing. It's like, okay, whatever, it's just another argument. And then I hear fight, bang, bang, and I'm calling 911.
Oh my gosh!
And it's like, there's been shots here, and it's like, wow, I counted crazy. Like 7 or so. And the person that knew the people that were murdered said, they'd been shot straight in the face.
Oh, that's terrible.
It's like, and the guy, it is declared a murder because the guy was like apparently lying in wait. So, that's pretty scary,
Yeah.
And it's messed up, and it's like, well, that was, they're all like 28, 27. And I want to say 26, but I'm not sure. But at any rate, all really young, and so the guy that did it, of course, he's going to be in jail for the rest of his life, just about, I would think. And these other 2 don't get to they were annoying, but I didn't want them to get killed, or murdered. It's but this is the madness of humanity can come out in different ways for different reasons. And it's like, well, what can I do? I always ask myself that. It's like, well, the only thing I know to do is just to keep trying to promote reason and logic in my own humble way, and then I think religious people, they try to do that with like, well, if you join our club, you'll be a little bit more peaceful, and that might be the case for some people, so I think everyone, well, a lot of people at any rate are trying to get people to be peaceful in their own unique way, so that even though we disagree on a lot of, like, all the things, it's like there's things we don't disagree on, so we don't disagree with all the things. So anyways, I don't know.
Well, I see we have core foundations where we all agree with things like benevolence. We all agree that you should be good to people, you should care, you should be fair, those kind of things, like going to moral foundations theory with Jonathan Haidt. It's we have these core beliefs that people should be treated well, and you shouldn't just go out there with a gun, and because you're mad at your neighbor, just pull a gun on them. It's awful.
I mean, it's like, well, it's kind of creepy because is like when I remember even saying something like, "Oh, just kill each other already," you know, and it's like, if I was superstitious, it'd be like, "Oh, I caused it because I said," you know, but I mean, you know, it's like I didn't mean for you guys to do that. I didn't mean, it's like, and then I was reminded of, my brother and I were walking home one day, and there was this dog that was running out in the street. I'm like, "You're gonna get hit the dog, ha ha ha!" And I was just joking, and then somebody hit the dog. I was like, "Ah!"
No! Oh gosh!
No! I was
That's
joking,
horrible.
and it limped away, and I'm like, "Ah!" We couldn't. Somebody found it, hopefully, but
I gotta say,
I don't mean it. No, so don't say bad things. Say good things. $1 million. I get $1 million. Still not working.
say good. You're right. I mean, you know how you know if you're. I saw this once on Friends, but it actually happened to me in real life where I was dating this guy and we're driving down the road, and this is a long time ago. I was in my late 20s, and a bird hit his windshield and died. Hit the windshield while we're riding and died, like just popped off. And he started laughing like that was funny. And I'm like, okay, this is just the wrong guy to date. What's messed up?
Well, I mean, everyone responds to weird things in different ways.
Yeah, there's weird responses, but then there's just that. Like, why would you get a kick out of something dying? Like, that's not funny.
Maybe it scared him and he laughed nervously. I don't know, but
well, that's when I knew I had a good husband, because that was another thing. So when we were dating, I lived in this house that had a little stream behind the house, and there were fish in the stream. And he went fishing one day and he caught a fish and he tried to throw it back, but unfortunately the fish died in his hands. He started crying. He was so upset that he ruined the fish's day. And I thought, okay, that's the guy for me.
So the way to know if you have somebody good is to throw a bird at their windshield and see if they laugh. Got it.
I actually have a similar story about Jennifer, my wife. When we were still dating, we were driving on a highway somewhere, and she was sitting in the passenger seat of the car, and I was driving, and she goes, "Oh, look at the doggy." And there was a dog on the highway. And then all of a sudden it got hit by a car, and Jennifer freaked out. She was like, "Ah!" And she was like bawling. And we literally had to, that was it. We were done for the day. She was too traumatized. We had to like go back to the hotel, and she had to stay in bed for like the next 5 hours. And I was like, wow, this is a really sensitive person. This is a keeper. Like, she was shattered. She couldn't do anything past that point because it was too traumatizing.
What does it say about me that we're talking about all these horrible things and I'm laughing? I don't know why.
You brought it with you. You brought it with you, Deconverted man.
Death! Yay!
Listen to his laugh. It's almost kind of like that Dr. Evil on Austin Powers.
Anyway,
it's exactly how Stalin laughed when he would sentence people to death.
That's right.
Same laugh.
Get into this chamber here. You'll be a gas.
Wow. So let me ask you guys this: since we have three people who are non-believers in Christianity
we're surrounding you, SJ.
Yeah,
we're surrounded.
We're
you also
down.
surrounded Craig.
See, I haven't interacted with Ethan yet, so I gotta.
Oh yeah, you guys don't know each other. So,
no, not really.
Ethan, tell Dan a little bit about your channel in case Dan didn't get to hear that.
I
if you like, as Puck calls it, rainbow barf atheism.
What?
That's what he calls it. Because
I'm subscribed. No, you don't need to say anything more. Just give me your channel. Shut up and take my subscription.
YouTube.com/yourfriendlyneighborhoodatheists with an S at the end. Although looking back, I wish you could change your channel URL, because everything else is YFN atheist, except my YouTube. It's that really long one.
You can.
I changed mine.
You can only do it once, and then that's it. You're stuck with it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Why rainbow barf atheism? Because it's too positive. It makes you sick. Is that what he means?
No. So he calls it because so Puck is very. Puck wants a 16-point PowerPoint presentation, starting from when I create the video to where the video ends to me following up with everybody afterwards. Like, he wants this whole thing laid out in a grand scheme, and I'm just like, hey, I just want to talk to people, and so I'll talk to people, and we're polar opposites. So he calls it rainbow barf because apparently it works and there's no aim to it and it just shoots everywhere. He could probably explain it better than I did.
Gotcha.
I think that makes sense. That makes sense. Rainbow barf. And I don't see Puck in the live room yet. He hasn't come in here in case he is going to join us. I don't know. I haven't seen him in the chat.
Oh
in a
no,
while
he's.
either.
I believe he's working right now.
Oh, okay. So he's got a good reason.
My
Yeah.
first guess, if I heard the sentence and I didn't know what he was talking about, I'd say it's so positive that it's gnarly, that it's so like sunshine puke or something like that. That's how I'd hear it.
See, I honestly, just like I said in the beginning, I think that the face of the new atheist is going to go away from, like I mentioned before, some of the people, even like Matt Dillahunty, and I think it's going towards people like Ethan. And I think the first one to kind of the very first time I got on a channel was Shannon Q. I heard that was her idea too. She said, I want to normalize atheism, and she wanted to bring a regular face to atheism rather than being such an extreme.
She's even going to be a co-host on Atheist Experience now. And
Yeah.
Jenna is more like her than Dillahunty. I was with Jenna. Where were we, Ethan? Like, what was that, like 2 weeks ago? She was really nice. She's more Shannon than Shannon.
Awesome.
She's more Shannon-esque than Shannon is. She's even more Shannon-like. And,
Jenna Belk?
Yeah.
Yes. And
Yeah, I
is-
saw her on your
Yeah.
channel.
If I had to pick my favorite atheist right now, it would be Jenna Belk. I think she is great representation. She knows how to break down, the more complex topics while also trying to understand people and relate to them and not just tell them they're wrong. So I love Jenna, and I highly recommend checking her channel out.
Yeah, I told you. She's more Shannon than Shannon is. She's the new Shannon.
Well, see, Shannon labels herself as an anti-theist, and I think that to people like me, that makes me think, well, wait a second, what does that mean if you're an anti-theist rather than atheist? So I hear my dog.
So I believe anti-theism is you, like, I don't want to say hate, but you completely reject all forms of theism and you don't want them. You know what? I'm going to poorly explain
it depends on the person. I mean, you could go with the broad brush definition that there is of that is
they're opposed to
opposing all the theism that
I'm going to be right back in 1 second. Let me just.
But then there's those that they are labeled anti-theists that are very aggressively making fun of it and things like this. And it's kind of like, well, this is atheist content for atheists rather than atheist content for whoever.
Well, see,
And
that's the other thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to just create atheist content for atheists just to have an echo chamber YouTube channel.
Yeah, and neither do I, but that's all I get is mostly skeptics comedy on my stuff.
I actually surprisingly have a good amount of Christians that watch my stuff, which
Sometimes,
I think is pretty awesome.
I mean, it depends on the video, but I used to be cooler back in the day, but I'm
I have about 10 or 20% of atheists who watch.
Yeah. I got Craig. So that was what I was referring to when I was getting all grumpy with you. Is the
deconverted your
like,
little screed on
go look for the thing. And you're like, what the flip were you talking about? I'm like, go find out.
Yeah, but it's not the same thing when you have a spaz attack. It's like
look,
it's like a cartoon character.
It's
Uncle has a spaz attack.
Listen, don't make me send the lobsters.
Yes, I will not. I will not do that. But yeah, generally, anti-theist implies that they consider religion toxic and a negative force in society, and they're opposed to it. So it usually, Shannon is rare, and a couple of the anti-theists are rare, but it usually applies more aggressive, militant, in-your-face type of atheist. Usually, that's what I find.
Yeah, which is not the type of atheist I want to be.
No, you're definitely the mellow, the new brand.
Oh, well, I personally, I want to be the very best, like no one ever was.
Wait, what?
I said I want to be the very best, like no one ever was.
To catch them is my something test.
Real this is my real test. Oh my God. I'm stupid. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm back. All right. I'm just gonna mute myself for a while.
I had a question and now I completely forgot what I was going to ask.
Yeah, well, see, you were gonna ask the question that would have revealed how reality works. Oh well, I blame Pokemon. It was funny. Pokemon. I remember that was like when it first came out. It was like there was a lot of anti-Christians were like, "Oh, this is evil," and so it's like, "Oh, really? What?" It's so weird how like certain groups will make something like, I think Elvis was seen as, or rock was seen as bad, and it's just odd. Oh, look, she's back. All right, we can't talk about her now. She's back.
My hair's been driving me crazy.
She changed her hair.
I have to get it cut, so I decided I'm putting it up. It's in my face. It's just driving me nuts. So sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay.
So I need to get a haircut, and I haven't done it because of COVID, and so it's getting out of hand. And I see Sentinel Apologetics here in the. I also saw a few other Vera Cruz and Tony Designs and Supreme King. Great group of people in here. Supreme King. JB is in there. Supreme. So we got a good group of people.
This one person was hold on. I just saw
Sentinel
it.
Apologetics.
Vera Cruz said, "How do we all feel about gravity?" My answer is it's pretty heavy subject.
Yeah, the gravity of it.
I mean,
all,
what's
right?
the feel? You can fall. I don't know what else I feel about it. That's kind of a weird question.
Look. There's no weird questions. Just wait.
So I see Gavin Hurlman too. So Vera Cruz, you and Vera Cruz are still pretty chummy there, Nathan?
Yeah, I'm just because I'm not going to say her name because it's too vulgar, but she made a video about a month ago where she was pretending to do something very rude, and V saw me watching it and had a go at me. So I'm pretending to flirt with her in the chat to annoy
They.
Oh wow, you got in trouble for
these games. That's classic. So no, her real name's Sarah, so you can call her Sarah. I know who you're talking about. So Sarah, Sarah gets around here because I've seen her on Modern Day Debate. She definitely is active on YouTube for sure. So hey, did anybody happen to see Skylar Fiction's video? Because I heard it caused quite a ruckus yesterday.
I have to admit, I actually still have to watch his channel. I have not seen. I am behind on so much content, and there are so many YouTubers I still need to check out.
I saw the controversial video that in question. He did this whole elaborate ruse though, where he started a new channel called Skylar the Christian, and he said he got the channel emailed to him, or the video emailed to him by this guy. And I think I'm the only one who believed it. I'm like, wait, I think somebody else made the video, and people are telling me no. People in the DMs are like, no, he made the video and he's trying to throw it off the track. I was like, could he be that good of an actor? It seems really believable to me. But no, and then he got in trouble and pulled the video because, I mean, it wasn't. I didn't necessarily see it and go, this is homophobic, but it was definitely not. I saw it and went like, oh God. Come on.
Well, he just said, because he just made another video a little while ago, and I just listened about 10 minutes of it. But he said that he did make that video, and he put it on another channel because he knew if it happened to be on his channel would get flagged.
SJ,
well, then that's probably a sign you shouldn't make the video. Hello.
Sarah, thank you for the super chat. She said she was reading a book about anti-gravity and she couldn't put it down.
I was gonna point that out. Yeah, that's great. I love that.
That is good.
Yeah.
That is good. So what are you guys working on now? What are the projects? Are there atheistic projects or Christian projects, Craig, or anything you guys are working on?
I was reading a book about insults. I couldn't stop putting it down.
Insults.
No, that's good. I actually am hosting my first call-in show tonight. I finally got the call-in feature working. It's going to be called the Atheist Christian Perspective. So my friend is Christian, and people will call into both of us, and we'll be able to talk to them, rather than it just being two atheists against, a Christian. I think. So
who's going to call in?
Cool. Anyone can call in.
Like, could I call in?
Absolutely.
And ask the really tough questions?
You can ask whatever you want.
I want to. Why is there nothing rather than something?
Oh, that'll get him every time. It gets him every time to convert, man. Slammer. Checkmate, atheists.
Wait.
Checkmate all atheists.
No, see, there's nothing rather than something. Wait, that's how it goes, right? Yeah.
No, why is there something rather than nothing?
No. I like my way better.
I can answer that. I can give you the best answer you've ever heard.
Why is there
I
nothing
don't
rather than something?
know.
I don't know. That is the 3 words that. Do you guys remember the old movie Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
Yes.
It's been a while
No.
since I've
Craig,
seen
of course,
it. Yes.
Craig and I are on the same page because we're the same age about. So you young folks probably don't remember that movie, but it was a hilarious movie from the 80s. And there was a guy called Mr. Hand. He was a school teacher, and he had Spicoli and all these people in a classroom with him. And Spicoli was this big pothead. And Spicoli orders a pizza and does all this stuff. But at one point, Mr. Hand asked Spicoli a question, and Spicoli said, "I don't know." And so Mr. Hand writes, "I don't know" up on the chalkboard. And it's like those 3 words. It just stuck in my mind. It's a really funny meme, actually. I've seen it on Twitter a couple times.
Spicoli was what's his face? It was
Yeah, Sean Penn.
Yep.
Sean Penn. That was his first role, wasn't it? I think that was his first time acting. And we kind of noticed at the time, I was like, that guy seems like a really good actor. And everyone was like, no, because it's just a stupid teen comedy. It's like, no, he's just some sort of like dumb, stoner guy from LA. And sure enough, that was him in character. So that performance put him on the map. Yeah, that's a kind of classic movie. We watched that at you go to your friend's house and they'd be watching it.
Okay, this one's a stretch, but I couldn't get a Santa Claus job because they thought that I kept saying "I don't ho."
Oh.
Yeah. All right.
Wow.
Good night, everybody.
Lobster Dan, he's coming out with some zingers.
Yeah, that was killer.
Look, let's just bury it and forget.
Well, so let me ask all of you guys, what's your favorite comedy? What's your favorite comedy of all time?
Schindler's List.
Oh, jeez. So that's so I'm going to say mine's really old. My old favorite comedy is Caddyshack, and so that's going back a long time because that's from 1980.
I would have to say one of my favorite comedies of all time is probably American Pie. And maybe because that was like the truly first really offensive movie I got to see where I related to it because it was relevant in that time. I was in high school. So it very much felt like high school. Yes.
That's a good movie. Wasn't that the one with Band Camp?
Yes.
Yes, that's
Band
Camp.
Such a geek, that woman. Like, and the other day at Band Camp?
No.
I'm going to go with UHF.
UHF?
Yep.
What's that?
That's Weird Al's movie.
Really?
I've seen it.
That's not that funny.
I've
Come
seen it more
on.
than 27 times.
No
What's it called
wonder.
again? UHF?
No wonder your
I don't
jokes
know.
don't land.
That or I don't know. I can't think of a comedy that I really like.
Well, I mean, I like these days. I like Wedding Crashers. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, that was a really good movie too.
And at the very end with Will Ferrell, when he's going to the funerals, I mean, it's just so wrong. That's what made it so funny. I did this study on what makes comedy comedy. And one of the things is when you give people a situation that they know that goes against what they know should be real, like what you should be doing. You shouldn't be going to a funeral trying to pick up ladies, which is why that movie was so funny. And you shouldn't be crashing people's wedding, pretending you're Irish, then you're Jewish, then you're all these different.
I did crash a wedding once.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
How did it work out?
Though it went really well, mainly because I'm a goofball, so I ended up getting to entertain people. I like to dance and sing and do fun stuff. So I did make sure to tell them at the end of the night that when they started talking to me, I'm like, yeah, just so you know, I did kind of crash this, but they were like, thank you for crashing. You made it more fun. I was like, yes.
Nice. See, that's the Chicago. He's from Chicago, in case you guys don't know.
Yes.
And he will not eat, like, for example, in hot dogs and different kinds of food, he has certain preferences. Like, they're not allowed to have ketchup on hot dogs in Chicago. And he has to be mustard and other toppings. So.
Yes. Chicago
old
style
school.
only.
The Rage is in the chat, and he's saying Old School is his favorite.
Old School is a really good movie too.
That is. Anything with Rodney Dangerfield. Isn't that the one with Rodney Dangerfield? I think that's the one. If I'm thinking what that is.
No,
I don't think I've seen Old School.
Oh, I'm thinking Back to School. Is it Back to School? Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, you're thinking Back to School, I think.
Yeah, that was good.
So Craig Reed, what would it take to get you to walk on the dark side? And by that I mean atheism.
To actually deconvert? I'm not really sure. I'm not entirely certain that it's possible, to tell you the God's honest truth. I didn't start out as a Christian. I started out as just kind of an agnostic, secular person for most of my life. So it's not like, I can't really think. I can think of things that I've answered this in a way, like I could think of stuff that would make me walk away from God, but not necessarily not believe that he exists. Like there was a thing that happened to, I don't know if that completely made sense how I said it, but there was a thing that happened to the purpose-driven life guy. His son, whose special needs son, killed himself. And that was Rick Warren, I think. And I remember thinking at the time, if that happened to me, I'd be done. I would be mad. I would be totally, I don't know what I would do, but I would no longer be a Christian. I would be something, and I'd be mad at God from I don't see how I'd recover, put it that way. How I could ever serve in good conscience again. I'd be too upset. So that's not really exactly what you were asking me though.
No, I get it. Thanks.
So Sentinel Apologetics in the chat, he says he jams out to Billy Idol when he's doing his research. So Billy Idol's a classic, but that goes back a long time. That's Sentinel Apologetics. He likes his stuff from the old days.
Yeah. Billy Idol started, he was part of the original punk rock scene. He had a band called Generation X, and Idol was kind of like an ironic name he gave himself. And then a couple of years later, he was MTV as their resident, punk rock guy. And he had those songs that put him on the map. Some of those songs are actually pretty good. Eyes Without a Face is a great song.
Oh, that's a good song.
Nathan
White Wedding's a little bit creepy, isn't it? White Wedding. It's kind of something about that's kind of creepy to me.
Yeah, my wife gets creeped out by that too. That's the song that put him on the map. That was a big MTV rotation video back in the early days.
Nathan's eating a marker. He's gotten so bored.
I'm putting a link just for fun in the chat to this if people want to join. Because I'm insane and I had this is a free for all, so we're opening it up.
Look, Nathan was eating a marker. He's eating a marker. Look at him. He's eating a marker. I see him doing it.
A marker. We can't.
He's eating a marker. He ate it. He swallowed it whole. I saw him do it.
Nathan's laughing. Nathan's got a nice set of books behind his. I have to say that's a nice bookshelf full of books. Now, Nathan, what kind of books are you reading today? What are the books that are in your? I'll actually tell you, I've got 2 Michael Heiser books to read that just came in the mail, and one that was recommended by Digital Hammurabi.
Speaking of books, my book is out now. You shall.
Really? What's your book called?
Caught Between an Infinite Hope and a Finite Despair on Amazon now. $18 because I like 18.
Does he like 18? Oh, good. Robert's
that
coming
you
in.
wrote?
Yeah, I wrote it.
You guys have got Sentinel Apologetics just joined us. So we got another Christian.
Awesome.
We've evened it out.
There we go.
Oh man, I gotta leave now. No.
Let's do it. Let's
take
these guys down.
No, it's fair fight
down.
now.
Let's get more Christians. Let's outnumber the atheists and see what
I'm
we
here
can do.
just to defend Billy Idol. That's all. I'm an apologist for him.
Okay.
Apologies for Billy
Well,
Idol.
you can't have idols.
For Billy Idol.
I know. But that's
for Billy
that's
Idol, are you
I'll defend
presuppositional apologist?
It's presuppositional.
Rob,
I'm
would
a
you say you're
pre-supper for Idol.
Pre-supper for Idol. That is funny that you like Billy Idol so much. I don't think I've met somebody who's such a big Billy Idol fan. That's cool.
Oh, I listen to a lot of classics. I'm sure you know about Gordon Lightfoot, the Canadian country singer.
Oh, I love Gordon Lightfoot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
he's great.
all the younger folk in here may not know Gordon Lightfoot. But...
Yeah, we've got to. Well, Craig should. Craig, you know Gordon Lightfoot.
Yeah, I was just
he's an old
talking
bag
about
like
him.
me.
That's the guy who did In the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. That's
yeah. The
That's
one
a
on
great
the
song.
the shipwreck. Yeah.
I was just talking about that with Laura Robinson on Twitter on Sunday. She mentioned it for some reason. I don't remember why.
Oh, okay.
She called it the Ballad of Edmund Fitzgerald, and I was like, "Isn't it called the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald?" But I don't remember what context we were talking about it. Yeah, that guy had a bunch of. That
guy was a deep thinker. Like, well, most of his songs was more about like life experiences and relationships and all that. So, but yeah, my favorite guitar work by him is in a song called "The Way I Feel." That one speaks about how men, when they reach an old age, you know the whole mortality rate of men. Like, men usually die out first, then their wives. So
yeah,
that song
by
is
8 years
about
or
that.
so, right?
Yeah, that's that's interesting. Now, see, I like some old stuff too. I don't know, I'll go really old. Is Creedence Clearwater Revival. Have you guys ever heard of them?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I mean, there's some good stuff, and so I'm trying to think of the one. I actually just open up my little CD drawer. Oh, someone moved it. Okay, I'm gonna look at my.
The CD drawer is right there.
You guys aren't gonna. Yeah, I just happen to have. I mean, you guys have to see these. I just happen to have a CD drawer. Look. Okay, you see this?
Oh wow, yeah.
This is one of them. And so just to name some of the ones I have on here, the Eagles. This is really old. Jimmy Buffett.
Oh wow, yeah.
New Order. You guys remember New Order?
Yeah, I remember.
What else do we have here? Cat Stevens. You guys, Cat Stevens. Audio Slave. Frank Sinatra. Remember the Steve Miller Band.
Would have been more awesome if you pulled out 8 tracks.
Yeah, I'm that old. No, I got the Beatles. Look at the Beatles right here. This is pretty cool. So we got some good stuff. Merle Haggard and Conway Twitty. I bet you guys didn't think I'd have that.
How about some Johnny Cash?
I definitely have Johnny Cash in here somewhere.
Oh yeah.
I love Johnny Cash. So anyway, yeah, just happen to have Oingo Boingo, Depeche Mode. So
now you're just making up words.
Yeah.
No, have you guys ever heard of them?
Of course.
Depeche Mode. This is Depeche
I only
Mode.
heard of Depeche Mode because of KMFDM. There was always a myth around what KMFDM stood for, and we used to think it was kill and then the MF word, Depeche Mode. But then later, it actually in German meant no pity for the majority.
I got Howard Jones in here. Do you guys remember him?
No, I don't remember that one.
UB40.
Yeah, those are all like the big 80s.
This is all 80s.
Jones,
this is my
UB40.
80s CD drawer. I can't. Yeah,
ZZ Top.
I never really liked ZZ Top.
No, there's just one song I did like by them, and that's in the Back to the Future movie. That would be about
it. Yeah. Oh yeah, ZZ Top with
that one.
Sharp Dressed Man.
Yeah, I think
now
that was
in this
one.
Group,
and there's another one. Yeah.
I've got Janis Joplin. Here's another group right here. Pink Floyd.
I never really took
Stone Temple
Pink
Pilots. U2. You guys like U2. I know you like
U2 is great. Yeah.
Dwight Yoakam. Offspring. These just don't go together at all. So that's it.
What Pink Floyd album was it?
And Cake. I don't know if you remember Cake.
The CD, the only audio CD around me is Neo Genesis Evangelion. Like, yeah. What's that? Never mind. Anime.
Yeah, that's good. Well, thanks, brother. John likes my taste in music, and Sarah. I think Sarah said my taste is like her taste. So good. People got some good taste here in the audience. We'll have to start playing some of this stuff in the background.
That's a good
idea.
Look
at this. Apologetics through music. How awesome. Yeah.
You have a CD that's apologetics through music?
No. I meant.
Okay.
This what's going on here? Yeah.
You know, and then
yeah, Duran. I love Duran. So that's what the Rage is saying there. Let me see if JB's joined us. JB was talking about joining us. Let me just look in. Oh, look, JB's in the chat. Here we go. So we got a nice big crew in here. Welcome, JB.
Looks like he's still connecting.
Now we're actually outnumbered again, Craig and Rob.
Oh, we need more Christians.
Yeah, I released my album, so to speak, on YouTube ages ago. So
your album.
Well, it's Deconverted Band. I mean, you know.
I used to
music.
Listen
Do you
to...
actually write music?
I wrote the lyrics. Sight and Atheist did everything else.
He writes the songs that make the whole world sing.
I wrote Catapult Pancakes.
Do you know what I'm saying? That's a line from Barry Manilow. Yes.
It
You guys
doesn't
need
get
to
any.
keep up here. This is good stuff.
I write the songs and make the whole world sing. Catapult
My high
pancakes.
My high school years, I used to listen to the German rock band Rammstein.
Oh, I'm not
Oh,
familiar with that.
Okay, Rammstein is awesome, and I was so excited to see them in September in Chicago. Because of Corona, it doesn't look like it's happening now. It was going to be my first time seeing them.
But
Oh, wow.
I started to, even though if I was to listen to, I don't know. I mean, obviously their classic was Du Hast, but if I listen to any of the songs, there'll be that typical nostalgia feel. But songs like Weißes Fleisch really made me rethink. I mean, the lyrics are pretty dark, and it kind of threw me off.
There's this one song I would love. It's kind of like the react. The how people react to different things on YouTube.
Yeah.
I kind of am interested in knowing or seeing what different Christians would think of this one song that I really liked. It's, let's see, Ill Mind. I'm gonna find it. There it is. Ill Mind of Hobson 7, and it's basically like his deconversion song. It's like a rap, but it's really, really good. And it's like I've talked about it a few times and linked to it a few times because I thought it was really good. And so,
Hobson's an atheist?
So Susan says Rammstein ist sehr gut. It's very good according to Susan. So I want to say here's another one of my favorite classics.
I'm actually surprised that she's saying that. Yeah. She's pretty hardcore then, right?
Yeah, I haven't even heard it. I'm gonna have to go listen to it. So
yeah,
I've got Pure
Rammstein
Prairie
literally
League here
means
too, by
ramming
the way.
stone.
This is Amy. Remember the song Amy?
Yeah.
Amy, what she want to do?
I know Airline Amy. That's
Yeah, so that's good. So let's get back to. Should we get back to what we had initially come in? We were talking about things we've discovered online since we went online and sort of came out in our respective. With our respective belief systems and sort of publicize them, what we've discovered. And I said that I learned never to say Christianity cures depression, even though I secretly feel that way. But,
nom.
but I noticed, and then you guys went around and said a little bit, but Rob and JB, you guys haven't said too much. And I don't remember if Dan even got to add that. If you've learned something since you've gone online.
Could I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
So then what about the Christians that suffer from depression?
Oh, I definitely think that's possible. I don't think that all Christians are cured from depression. And I think I know Christians who are suffering from depression in an awful way. And I know some who are abusing a lot of drugs and alcohol because of it. And so, yeah, so I don't think it's a cure all. But I have seen people who have attributed their happiness or coming out of a depressed mode from Christianity. So there are some people I've seen as success stories, but there are definitely some who have not. It hasn't worked out for them.
Yeah, I know. I mean, personally, I know specifically one particular close friend of mine I've known for nearly half a decade now. He suffers with terrible depression and suicide thoughts and all that. But he's a huge inspiration. He is a Christian, and he doesn't like those moments, like those glimpses of non-depression episodes. It's really weird because he'll say things like the depression sort of gives me the realization that mortality is real, suffering is real, life is precious, it's short. There's a certain sense of beauty in those little glimpses, like in the non-depression episodes. He sort of reflects on it, and so it's like over time. Yeah.
No, does he have what is that disease where you're manic depressive? Is that basically what he is?
He hasn't been diagnosed. He doesn't take anything for it. But he knows if he was diagnosed, I reckon he would be up there somewhere in one of those medical terms. But yeah, he just at the end of the day, he basically gives Jesus all the glory regardless of how he feels. It's sort of like a whole, thorn in the flesh type attitude. And he yeah, I mean, I don't want to put words in his mouth. I mean, if he was here, he would explain it better than I am. But all I can say is there's a certain inspiration I can get out of that. But the fact that he, even in his most depressed state, he still praises God, like that's pretty wild. So yeah.
Yeah, you see, people definitely go different ways. I have to say there are different forms of depression, and I realize that some of them are chemically based. And obviously, one of the things that when I said that on Twitter, I certainly wasn't saying that, hey, don't use any medicine and just ignore all medicine. I'm not one of those kind of Christians who believes that people should ignore medicine or vaccines or any of that kind of stuff. I think that it's important to get your medicines if you can.
What do you think of the snake handlers? Any Christian here?
Oh my gosh.
I hate snakes. I think they're freaks. They're crazy. Why would they do that?
Because, it says in the Bible you can handle I forget what it's like. I don't know what the verse is that they use to justify it, but I know it's in there somewhere.
There's absolutely no verse to justify any of that rubbish.
I don't know.
I believe they use the longer ending of Mark for that, isn't that what?
Well, even the long ending of Mark is not speaking about that at all.
I think don't put your Lord God to the test. And I think if you're handling snakes, you're putting God to the test. So I hate snakes. And my neighborhood has a lot of little garden snakes and coral snakes. Coral snakes are actually poisonous. So we have alligators here too. In case you guys are from a different. Hey, Robert, are alligators near where you live?
Yeah, we have the classic Australian, crocodile alligator going on, but not where I live. No, I'm near the beach. So we have most snakes over here. In fact, we have some of the most dangerous snakes in the world. Like if you're just jogging, you can see that particular black snake just chilling there in the sun.
Are they big snakes or small snakes? Like really big ones?
Probably the length of your leg.
Okay, that's about what we have, and they're kind of skinny.
If you get bitten by that, you have roughly 10 minutes to live. That's
oh my gosh, really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's scary. We have a lot of coral. You know what I noticed about my dog though? I just noticed this today because I saw a snake today when I was walking, and so I was walking my dog, and she chases after every little animal, the squirrels, all these different little animals or cats or anything that she sees. But I noticed today when the snake kind of crossed in front of us and then scurried off into the grass beyond us, she just looked at it and she didn't go near it. She knew, like, she's got an instinct to know and stay away from that thing. So I thought that was kind of neat. Dogs are smart. Dogs are smarter than cats. Sorry, who did I say that to?
I put all the
so does Craig. I'm just
the relevant verses that Wiki said that they use in the chat.
Yeah, that's just so ridiculous.
Yeah, well, it's
especially the Luke reference, because do you know what that Luke reference actually is getting at?
Yeah.
Who wants to have a guess?
No, what is it getting at?
So SJ, since you have Mike Heiser's work on your shelf, if you open that passage in Luke, Jesus sends other disciples out, and they are given a specific number. Have a guess.
A number that they're given?
So well, he sends out a number
how
of
many
disciples.
70.
Yeah.
70, and it represents. Oh my gosh, Robert, I am so excited to read these
numerology?
2 books that I just got from Michael Heiser that I haven't read yet. I cannot wait to get into the Book of Enoch and the companion to the Book of Enoch and this other book that on demons. I want to see what he says about demons.
Yeah.
So I'm very
that
excited.
reference is technically the demonic stronghold of the nations, because it's 70 nations. The whole Genesis 11:10 thing.
I wonder if that has to do, because I was just thinking that today. Remember the time when Jesus said, if you have to forgive somebody, and they said even 70 times?
70 times 7, isn't it?
Yes, 70 times. And I thought to myself, well, that's interesting. And then I thought of the book of Daniel with Daniel 9, and I thought 77's less 7.
Yeah. No, those 70s wouldn't be related, but they do have a numerical sort of pattern in Scripture. And,
the thing is, I find it's hard to know, like, I think a lot of the numbers are put there because of numerology was pretty rampant. but like I don't want to just oh yeah, this is there because of numerology. Like it, but I mean, it's hard to know.
Yeah.
As a skeptic, I'm like, it's probably there because of numerology. Nah.
Well, yeah, because of 40, all the times at 40, he fasting 40 days and 40 nights. And then there's the 40 days between the resurrection and the Pentecost. There's a lot of different.
There's certain numbers like
And 12, the number
Yeah.
12 is another one.
7 and 6, all these different numbers. Like the original, like you'll find more in the Old Testament. Like I think that the ages that it gives for the different Adam lived to whatever 900 something, whatever.
Yeah.
I think all those different numbers are probably. I think I remember reading that they meant the numbers meant a word, and I'd have to look it up again because.
Oh, I think you're following from Chuck Missler with
I
the
don't know.
translation of each of the names.
It's been so long that I don't remember. But at any rate, it's like, because that would make more sense than thinking like, oh yeah, a human lived to 900 years old. It's like, no. But some people, they'll add up those ages, and that's where you get, the young earthers. And I'm like, yeah, but if you add up the ages, it's more than 6,000. So you're already wrong.
Yeah, that's the irony. When you add it up from Adam to Moses, it adds up to 12,000 years. So that's like double. 6,000.
Yeah. See, I didn't finish the math on it.
Now that's interesting. I didn't know that.
No, that's why they also say 6,000 to 10,000 years.
In fact, SJ, the 1260 days in Revelation and Daniel.
Yes.
So to be specific, it's 12,600 years. So if you divide that by 10, you get the 1260 figure.
There you go.
That's interesting.
And believe it or not, there's an actual peer review paper on specifically that by a scholar who happens to live 10 minutes away from me.
Cool.
Oh, cool. You could get him on your channel.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
It's a 2004 paper. So. Yeah.
So Robert, I heard you say something about the 144,000 in Revelation. So what is that symbolic of? Because you said something like it's representative of a much greater number, because they say 144,000 people will be appearing.
Yeah. Well, no, the 144,000 just means it's kind of like a crescendo effect when you break up the numbers. So you have 12,000. So you have 12. Well, basically 12,000 by 12,000. That's literally the. So you have. I'm trying to remember. You have Revelation 7, then Revelation 14, then Revelation 21. The dimensions of the New Jerusalem. So 12,000 by 12,000 by 12,000 is the stadia dimensions. Then the cubit. So the wall is 144 cubits. So the point is that these values constitute what, say, the tribes. So there's 12 tribes, and then it says each tribe is 12,000. So it's to connotate completeness. It has nothing to do with, specifically every individual that adds up to 144,000. That's ridiculous. It's just to say this thing called the New Jerusalem constitutes this numerical value 144,000 to mean exactly that, completeness. So when you go to like when you go to Zechariah 2, which is a key Old Testament text that John is utilizing for the dimensions of the New Jerusalem, it's interesting that in that Old Testament text it says the eschatological Jerusalem will have no borders. But the wall that will surround this eschatological Jerusalem is God's glory himself. So notice that if there is this thing known as a finite, reality in the new heavens, new earth, then how does that fit with the descriptions of heaven that give this impression that it's to do with eternity and eternal things? So the very fact that you have Old Testament prophets saying that there's no borders should imply that we're talking about something quite grand without, you can't put a number to that. And so then John, in the way he writes Revelation, he basically communicates exactly that message.
Well,
So
Robert,
when the Joel Witness tells you Like I always tell the Jehovah's Witnesses at my front door. They're like, they'll
I
talk about
pity the
144,000.
Jehovah Witness that shows up at Robert's door.
Well, I just simply ask them. I'm like, look, do you believe in this in a literal 144,000? And they go, yep. So then I go, well, which tribe, like which Jewish tribe are you associated with? Because none of all the tribes in Revelation are Jewish. But you see, that's the point. It's not to say that John's being literal with that thing. It's more of like a tongue-in-cheek question. If you're literally taking that literally, then you have to take it literally. That you have to be a Jew. You have to go into the Nazirite vow. You know, you have to. In fact, it's a reversal of the Watchers. Heiser will bring that up in the books you'll be reading. Where the 144,000 are described as virgin, and they constitute a new divine council because the older divine council, they fell and did that sexual stuff. So even those descriptions, like you have to be a pure virgin. Are you a pure virgin, Jehovah's Witness? You know, like.
Yeah,
So-
Jehovah Witness could get. Well, I want to say hi to Converse Contender. He joined us, and Jay is Vekl's also joining us. So we got.
I was gonna
now
say,
we're outnumbering. The Christians are outnumbering you guys now.
We missed Nathan leaving, so I want to say bye, Nathan.
Oh, shoot, Nathan left. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody said we need more Christians. Be careful what you wish for.
Let's
I
have one
love
of
the
those.
mask there, Converse.
Let's have one of those
Ask and
Zoom
you
conferences.
shall receive.
I wanted to know if
Real quick, I'm sorry to do this. I do have to jump out. I have other work I have to do.
Okay.
Bye.
No worries.
It was nice
great
meeting
seeing you,
everyone.
Ethan.
Stephanie, thank you for the invite, and I appreciate you letting me come on.
make sure you read my comment.
Thank you
I
for
will.
coming in.
Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
Ethan.
Have a good
Nice
night.
See you, Ethan.
to meet you, Ethan.
Bye, Ethan. Okay, now we
Me
can
too.
talk about him.
I got to make sure I put links to all of your channels in here, so I'll do that after I get off.
I was going to ask Robert if what he thought about Revelation being about King Nero.
Nero the Caesar. Yeah, I think I am in the minority position that says that Revelation is in. I take the early date composition, so 68 AD roughly, because you have instances of Nero, sprinkled throughout Revelation. Like, for example, the kings up from the east, will terrorize, and then there was this myth that Nero was going to be revived, and he's going to come and.
In the original number 606 or whatever.
Yeah,
it was,
then you have that number 616 or 666. Both
616,
connotate that. But
Yeah.
but Nero's not, and you do have like a Nero type Antichrist with the with those kings mentioned in chapter 17.
So-
But Nero's not the main guy. He is a big figure, but he's not the ultimate main guy.
Interesting. Okay, cool. All right, thanks everybody. This was fun. Gotta go.
Oh,
Bye.
who said that?
No, I'm going. Bye.
Oh, Deconvert. Okay, good seeing
You're
you.
leaving too?
Yeah.
All the
you know.
atheists are going.
We're going. I'm
The
sorry,
atheists-
man.
Oh my
Look,
gosh, the atheists are leaving. Well, JB's still here. I don't know what JB is.
JB's here.
Here,
Oh,
It's my fault, isn't it?
Let's
Look, I-
barbecue JB.
I shilled all my things already. So,
And Vekl's here, so Vekl's another Christian. Welcome,
all
Vekl.
right, later.
We got a good little crew here. What a fun time. I have to do
Hello,
this
hello,
more
hello.
often.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
What's going
How
on?
are you, Vekl?
Doing great. Great. Just got home from running some chores and errands and stuff. So I saw you online. Thought I'd pop in.
Yeah, just kind of like how you do it on your channel. So I just figured I'd do something kind of similar. You do it, I forget what you call your channel, but you've got a lot of different, you do it every week where it's,
Yeah, I call it why not?
oh yeah,
You
that's
call
it.
Yeah. I'm actually thinking about doing one tonight.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So we'll just
I
talk
decided
about
to
anything
camera.
really.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Why not? Right?
You guys were talking about the Revelation.
Yeah, what do you see? My take, I heard another person online saying this about this early dating, and I really haven't given that much thought. And I just heard Rob say it. And but I've
there's-
always thought of it as the
There is
end
a
times,
radical.
like,
There's an even earlier date by it's a radical claim by it's in the Anchor Yale commentary series. Her last name is Ford. She proposed that Revelation was written by John the Baptist. And then in a proto form that then became sort of finalized by the later church authors. That really wasn't bought, but that's just to give you an idea as to how radical certain things are in that. So I believe it's John the Apostle that wrote Revelation, and from my reading, it makes the most sense to read it from a partial preterist perspective, because if you have a short-term fulfillment, the whole 70 AD destruction of Jerusalem as being that short-term, like everything that you read actually does take place in the first century and it applies to the seven churches, then I can rest assured that it will be applicable to future Christians in that idealist, futurist, and historicist, all those other positions can like utilize Revelation safely, like it is applicable.
That's interesting to me, because I feel like I can't get past the idea of the Antichrist, because I don't think Nero quite lived up to the way did Nero actually appear in the temple?
Shadows of it. Yeah, they were all many shadows of it.
Okay, of what's to come.
Big time, yeah. Like, for example, when it says...
I could get into that.
Like in 79 AD, like Pompeii was buried, right, by the volcano. It's interesting the descriptions given there. And this is why critical scholars will date it late to the 90s AD, because in chapter 8, when it speaks about the mountain that suddenly spews out a lot of fire, and it like covers like a third or 2/3 of the water, and it just destroys everything in its vicinity, blah, 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 blah. They'll be like, yeah, it's Mount Vesuvius, the Pompeii volcano. But John's looking back to that event and sort of applying it to a forward, well, if you take it in a 68 AD, composition, that means it's 11 years before that event, and therefore that's genuine for prophetic fulfillment as a shadow of something grand that will happen later on. I document all this in the commentary. So
yeah. So Rob, we were talking about one of the things that Rob does that I think is funny is Rob writes these videos to go and make commentary on both Schuyler and Digital Hammurabi stuff. And so you came up with, and I haven't read your article on Revelation. I'm definitely going to read that, your many, many pages on Revelation, but I have read what you wrote on the book of Daniel, and I have to agree with you on this whole idea of the dating of the book of Daniel. And I think you make a pretty powerful argument about the earlier dating of the book of Daniel. And so that goes in contrast to what Digital Hammurabi.
All I did was just quote the scholars.
Yeah. Well, you had a lot. That was a pretty thick study, though. You had a ton of. How many? You had a lot of citations, though. So that was
60 pages of bibliography. Yeah.
Yeah, that's significant. And so Susan says it's 5:30 in the morning there. Is that where you are? It's 5:30 in the morning?
It's true. Yeah, it is.
What are you doing up?
I've been going to bed early and waking up early. Like, it's
actually, they say early to bird, early to rise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's good. And so it looks like we lost Vekl. We had Vekl in here, but we do still have Converse and Craig and JB. So did you guys also want to chime in here on anything? JB is totally being ganged up on others.
SJ, I just want to clarify, if you do read that commentary, I am updating, I'm doing some proofreading. So the link I have on my main Facebook wall, that link will take you directly, because it'll auto update. So that link will take you directly to the most updated version.
Okay.
So don't worry about the one I messaged
Okay,
you.
I'll go to that then. So what is it in a Google Drive or something?
Yeah. It's in my folder in my Google Drive. Yeah.
Sounds good. No, after tomorrow, I got a few weeks. I have actually a number of weeks off until I have to officially go back, and I'm really excited. Today was my last day for one of my classes. Tomorrow I have 2 more I'm finishing up on, and that's it. So that's why I haven't been on YouTube for a while, because I've just been outrageously busy. So this is a good
that's
thing.
cool. It's cool. It's good to be busy.
Yeah.
Rob, you called, I listened to when you called The Line with Shannon and
Oh, yeah.
Telltale Atheist.
Yep.
I actually like that conversation. I don't remember it offhand now exactly why, but it seemed to go pretty well, I thought.
Yeah,
What was the
the only reason I was on there is because Laura Robinson was talking with Josh Bowen on slavery, and
Right.
Shannon was hosting. So I
on
was like,
Shannon's
oh,
channel? Yeah, I remember that.
yeah, and I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to check this out. So as I'm searching up Shannon, I see it's live, and so then I'm like, okay, this is interesting. They're doing like a atheist talk show, and I haven't seen Shannon since the old Google Hangout days. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do something. I don't know. Something was tugging me just to like call in on the show. So that's what I did. I called in.
Right. Yeah, and she remembered you. She was like,
she remembered.
Is this the
She's
Rob
like,
I think it is from Rob from us?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what's so funny is I went on G-Man's channel last week, and G-Man says, let's listen to this atheist experience video. So we go to listen to it. I'm looking at the person who's talking. It says Jonathan and England. And all of a sudden I realized this was actually Jonathan McClatchy who I had on my channel, and he was nailing it. And G-Man went and found that video without even knowing who Jonathan was. And I thought it was actually probably one of the best, strongest cases that I've seen. It wasn't with Matt Dillahunty, it was with two other hosts, but it was really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if you're going to make your debut on Atheist channel, you don't want to go on there when Matt Dillahunty's there. You want to go.
No,
with
did
the
you
other
see
ones.
the Psy incident?
Psy Gart or
Psy Gart? Yeah, Matt like kind of he hung up on. I don't think Matt
really
technically
Psy
hung
Gart
up on
called.
him.
Oh my gosh, I have to review that one.
JB, you saw it probably, right? Shannon and Matt Dillahunty. It was Shannon's debut. How would you describe it as an atheist?
I don't think Matt was very pleasant to Psy, but I think let me see how to say this. I think what Psy was calling in for was kind of a pedantic thing, and you catch Matt. I guess if you catch Dillahunty at the end of a show, then it's not his best time to catch him. So what
did Psy call in for? Do you guys remember?
Something about people saying that God equals the square root of -1 being imaginary, and Psy was going on about how Psy was talking about atheist memes, and people saying that God equals square root of 1, which is an imaginary number, and then he took that and related it to the fact that you actually use imaginary numbers in physics and stuff like that, so that makes God part of science. That was just. Like I said,
now I'm going to have to go listen to that.
That is one heck of a weird, funny, and sloppy meme, like all jumbled up in one. I mean, SJ, are you familiar with imaginary numbers? Like,
yeah, but I mean, I don't really. I think so.
Yeah, like I don't think it was great. I don't think what Psy came with was really, what you want to bring to that kind of table. But I do think that Matt was a little quick on the gun with him and real short and quick to get loud. But he did bring up the point that he doesn't like those memes any more than Psy does. So you kind of wishy-washy on it.
It's interesting. Well, I want to say in the chat, just really quickly, there are a couple of people have been, Susan's saying a lot of people have been kicked off of YouTube. And I know I mentioned before, Stefan Molyneux, he had just under a million people following him on YouTube, and his channel just got shut down.
Yeah, I seen that the other day. It's really interesting. Stefan Molyneux got kicked. Yeah, he got kicked off of YouTube.
Yeah, the whole trend towards censorship and cancel culture scares me.
Yeah, I seen it on
really
Twitter.
Bad.
I think he posted on Twitter like, "Hey, I got canceled. I had almost 1 million subs or whatever, and 250 million views or something like that." It's incredible. But you guys, I'm on my cell phone, so I don't really have a lot of time. But yeah. So in other news, I found myself today defending Skylar Fiction. How about that?
Oh, because I saw. So did you see that video? His original video?
Yeah. So me and Skylar have been kind of going back and forth. Yeah. So I've been doing like my last 2 videos have been about Skylar and Josh. And so
we all do videos on Skylar and Josh.
Yeah, but yeah, and I've been trying to we stay friendly. I mean, for the most part, I just keep it to the issues and like talk about the actual arguments. But yeah, so I did watch that the other day when he made that video about Eric Hernandez, and I'm friends. I like Eric. I mean, but he. The thing is, I did think it was a distasteful video, of course. But here's the thing: is I'm good with anybody being able to put out their things without somebody assuming their motive, and that's exactly what was happening. Was when Skylar put that out, we know if you've watched his channel at all that he's not, anti-LGBTQ plus. He's obviously not. And so today, whenever he posted something about like, I'm not going to apologize, I said something like, you didn't signal hard enough or something. He got a laugh out of that. And then Godless Engineer's wife, I believe it is, she started posting and like getting on him. And so I started defending him to her because I'm like, well, hang on. What is the problem here? Because she's like, well, because he made a joke in reference, basically like he was using homosexuality as a joke or something. And I was like, well, hold on. You guys use religion as the butt of all your jokes. And she basically said, yeah, but religion is harmful. And I'm like, well, hold on, because anything can be harmful. I said, saying religion is harmful because of what its adherents do is like saying that science is harmful because they produce and use an atomic bomb or a nuke. And basically she was just like, no, it's not a good comparison. But I don't know, I just found it to be very odd that they would take even somebody who is super progressive like Skylar and then try to assume that his motive was negative.
Yeah, the only thing I know about that was I saw Skylar say that he got an email from someone about this video.
Yeah, that was a joke.
and I actually believed that. I was like,
yeah, I believed it too. I'm one of the only people who fell for it. It's me and you, Rob.
I believe that because I wouldn't have thought Skylar would have made that video. So I saw it and I was thinking, that is a weird video. Then I guess you could say that there's a little bit of a noise that I wasn't really keeping tabs on. A noise in the sense being accusations being thrown around, and I just thought, oh, that's typical. The Erics and the fan base, just sort of him between Skylar back and forth. I usually just tune out and I don't really worry.
Speaking of Shannon Q, she actually came in his last stream and asked about the video, and somebody was like, yeah, Skylar did it or whatever, and she just said like in the chat like, I'm disappointed or something like that. I'm leaving, and she said she was leaving or something and ended up taking off. And so I guess like he upset a pretty good amount of people. But my thing is like, what are they expecting?
But what I want to say is, I actually don't. Whether Skylar did that or not, and obviously now it's apparent that he did because he said so himself.
Yeah.
I don't see him as less for doing that. What I am concerned about is if it is true that Christians were going out of their way because of his live stream just a few hours ago. If it's true that Christians were sort of trying to blackmail or defame Josh.
It wasn't Christians. It wasn't Christians. It was the more people on the left that were saying, hey, look, if you're using these slurs against homosexuality, basically, then we're gonna, go. Basically, they were going against Josh, but it wasn't Christians.
No, there were people that were threatening to contact scholars to blacklist them from digital honorability.
Yeah, I saw that too. People were threatening to go after Josh's job. And Josh,
Yeah.
just
Okay,
because
I
Josh
see.
liked Skylar's tweet.
So my thing is this is what I wanted to point out was
So it's not like Eric or Eric's
no,
fans that
Eric
were
didn't have
going out
anything
of
to
his-
do with it.
Okay,
No,
okay,
yeah,
okay,
he didn't have
okay.
anything to do with it. So here's the points I want to make was that, all right, so Skylar routinely, and he mentioned this, but I said it on Twitter even before he did, that he and other atheists routinely take our most sacred beliefs and turn them into just tasteless jokes. Of course, some of them find them funny, but maybe it's just Christians are so used to it that they're kind of tough, like thick-skinned. But you know, it's like you even get close to being unorthodox in any of their doctrines, and they're like, "Hey, we'll shut down your entire show. We'll call all the scholars Josh had on his show, and we'll," it's like it's just so interesting how sensitive you can be when somebody goes outside of your orthodoxy, and I'll get hate for that.
I will be honest. And if Skylar or Josh happens to see this, I hope they take it with a good spirit. But I did, especially what I'm about to say. So this is we're talking about Michael Jones here, right? IP, who's in the video. I did actually burst out laughing when IP's face, came up, and then the little the brain spinning around, and yeah, that because it was just so that shock factor was there. I guess it's just like, what,
Wait a second. So and this, because I didn't get to see the video. So the video had, from what I understand, I thought they had Eric was the one they had like a shower scene or something where Eric.
I think it was Eric, IP, and is it Cameron?
Capturing Christianity? Yeah. So basically, it's a movie
the
scene.
two people who've blocked him.
Right. It's basically a movie scene where he took one of Eric's last response videos to him, and where Eric's like in the shower with his head down, and he made it out like he was, let's say, practicing to the thought
a lot of
of
sexual innuendos
IP,
are going on.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To the thought of like IP and Cameron, to point out that Eric wished that he had the money and the donations that Cameron does and the brain that IP does. The problem with that is Eric actually he doesn't take any donations. He doesn't have a Patreon. He doesn't take super chats, and he's the only one out of them that actually is a scholar. I mean, what I mean by that is that he actually has a degree in philosophy, and he has a job doing this as his profession. Now, the other two, obviously, I'm not trying to sully their gigs, right? Because this is their full-time job as well. But I'm just saying, like, YouTube for him is pretty much nothing, because like he doesn't advertise or do anything like that. So he just this is his job.
He was juxtaposing the scenes with American Beauty. If you understand the themes of American Beauty, that's pretty much the Kevin Spacey character. So he pretty much put Eric over Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, it's funny because Skylar watches all these movies I've never seen, because he made a video about me one time on Clueless, but I actually never watched that.
Clueless is kind of a classic. You should check it out. It's really good.
And I've never seen American Beauty. So when I saw this picture of
American
me
Beauty's good
doctored
too.
on this awful outfit, I was like, why are you doing that to me?
So if you like Sam Mendes, the director who did 1917 and the James Bond films like Spectre,
I love James Bond
and Skyfall.
Yeah,
I've seen
the
all the
great
James
ones.
Bond movies.
So Sam Mendes, who did those, did American Beauty. So
I watched
It won
American
Best
Beauty
Picture
one time and didn't like it.
It won Best Picture.
So Skylar's made videos on Craig too, and Skylar's made videos on you, Rob. But what about you, Converse? Has Skylar made videos?
Yeah, one of his last.
For you, JB?
Yeah, one of his last videos was a response to one of my videos, and I've been on his channel obviously before. We've interacted a few times, but one thing is just that I'm sorry to put this in here again, but I wanted to say, because it kind of annoys me that it's just like you have to be careful who you're going to associate with, because if you think about it, he tries so hard to be a leftist or what he might call a progressive, but I might say like he's not far left, but he's obviously on the left. And like at the end of all of his videos, he started saying Black Lives Matter and these kind of things to try and show his, support and all. And it's like to still see them go after him, to me, it just is. I'm sorry, it just to me is incredible. I mean,
if you ever want to see where Skylar is politically, go watch his video with Adam Friended.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, about
have
progressives and centrists. Yeah.
Him
Actually,
and Adam Friended did like an 1.5-hour stream of nothing but politics.
Yeah, Friended actually is funny because he tends to talk like he leans to the right, but actually when it gets down to it on a lot of positions, he leans to the left.
Well, that's what Skylar kept calling him out for in that video, because the whole video, Friended was like, I don't like this from the left, I don't like this from the left, I don't like this from the left. And Skylar was like, well, cool, how about this from the right? He's like, well, no, I don't like that either. He was like, okay then.
Yeah, I'm kind of like that as well, though. I mean, my thing is that I don't want it to be, I don't like hearing like an echo chamber. I want it to be pretty even. And a lot of times I feel like people don't represent the other side's position. So even if I don't agree with the other side so much, I might still say, yeah, but they have a stronger argument than that. Like, here's their argument, But
speaking of crazy
the room that
political,
I'm in, so I avoid echo chambers.
Right.
Did you guys see that thing last night? Anyone watch the modern debate last night with the two, what's that guy, Vaush and Destiny?
And
No, I didn't watch it.
Oh my gosh, they had like 5,000 people watching at once. I mean, that biggest,
Destiny and Vaush bring big crowds with them.
For sure.
A huge crowd. I couldn't believe it. And then I was looking at the chat and people were going crazy in the chat. All of them are saying, trans rights all down the chat. It was just I don't know.
I mean, you had Vaush and Destiny on one side, and then you had two people on the other side that seemed, kind of to the right throughout the discussion. And then they got to the end and they started advocating for ethno states.
Yeah, they were far right, definitely. And Destiny's going to always have a big crowd. So
I didn't catch at the very end. What they advocated for? What? Ethno states?
Ethno states. Yes, they said that if you want to get rid of racism, then you need to have black cities and white cities.
Okay,
well, here's a big thing. A big thing on the far right. A big thing is that multiculturalism doesn't work. So they basically say, hey, look, people who are minorities are being treated wrongly. Yeah, that's why we agree with that. That's why we should have separate court systems for them and separate police for them.
Yes.
So basically they're just saying like, hey, look, this inherent, we can't fix the problem. We just have to be separated. And multiculturalism is a thing that can't work because of tribalism and things like that. I disagree with that, obviously, but that's a lot of people on the right seem to start leaning that way on the far right.
Well, the guy who wasn't showing his face last night, I forgot what his name was, but one of the guys, he was furthest on the right for sure. Because the part I heard was, I thought to myself, and my husband said it too, because we were watching it on our TV, put it on the TV because we were getting a kick out of it. And the guy who his face was covered, my husband's like, oh yeah, I can see why he's not coming out publicly. You don't want to say those opinions out in public. And so.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. He seemed provocative too, like he was trying to pick a fight almost, but yeah, I agree with you. That's pretty far. You guys, I'm going to go ahead and go because I got a project to work on tonight. But I did just get a new microphone yesterday. And so I'm going to be having a stream this week. And, I just want to say God bless to all you guys and Godspeed. And I'm praying for y'all.
You too. We probably only have about 5 more minutes because actually I have a 6 o'clock last week of USF's free certificate on COVID leadership. So
Converse, wish you nothing but happiness if I don't talk to you again, man. I thought you were already married because you had a bachelor party about 6 months ago.
Yeah, well, you can't go snowboarding in the middle of summer, so had to do it when there was snow on the ground. So yeah, I'll be
congratulations.
looking forward. Yeah, that's next month. So I'm excited, and but yeah, I had to. I really wanted to go snowboarding for my bachelor party, so had to do it early.
Forgive me, but I'm not going to pray for you. But I wish you nothing but happiness.
Yeah, well, I'll pray for you and everybody else listening. Man. So, you guys take care.
I don't take that into offense.
Yeah, thanks.
All right.
Have a good one, Converse.
You too.
Well, JB, this is the first time you've come on my channel, as far as I know. I don't think you've been on here before, have you?
Yeah, first time I've been on your channel, I believe. I've been on
Good.
Craig's. I've been on Nathan's. I think that's all the channels I've been on. And
Yeah,
yours
no, I
now.
see you a lot on
No.
Twitter. I definitely see, because
I've
you're
been
always,
on,
you go back and forth with Stephen Steen.
Yeah, I've been on Dry Apologist also.
Yeah, he's a good guy too. So.
Yeah, Craig ran from me for like a year. I'm surprised he's still in the room.
Ran from.
We were just making sure you're still listening, Craig.
What's that?
We were making sure you're still listening.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as he hears that.
He sounds, do you look like Converse Contender, JB? Because you sound
No.
exactly like him sometimes.
Craig, I've got a picture on Twitter.
Yeah, and it looks to me like you guys could be long lost cousins or something. You sound exactly
Maybe.
alike, and you look kind of alike.
We're both from the South Carolina, so.
I mean, you shut
really?
your eyes, and they sound.
Yeah.
They could easily fool somebody into thinking they're the same person.
Yeah, they definitely have a similar accent for sure.
Well, 'cause we're from the same state. That's how it works.
Yeah. Well, see, I'm
Craig
from
sounds like a
Florida,
New
but you guys
Yorker.
might be able to sort of detect my Chicago accent. I don't know if you can detect it. But if
Not really. I can
but I
pick up New
used to
York
have a
from
very
Craig,
strong
though.
accent when I first moved here. Yeah, I can pick up
And
New
I
York
get-
with Craig too.
I
But
get
Rob,
Australian
Most
from
people
Rob,
can.
too.
I don't know
Yeah,
if Rob
most people-
sounds that Australian though. Rob is almost like British to me. For Rob.
I'm just some weird mix of humanity in one. So a big European mix, some Australian, some East Indian, Asian. Yeah.
Those
A
are
lot
good.
of people can't decipher between Australian and English. And my
Well-
wife is good enough to get, like, in England, like we were driving through where were we? We were in going to the airport at Brighton. She was like, okay, she can get the actual location of the accent. Like what region of England they're from. Like that's a Dorset accent. That's a and most people in England can. So
Yeah, well, just like I can tell where people are from the United States. Like if you say
Right, exactly.
idea, I figure you probably got some Ohio in you. If you say park the car, you're Boston.
you're Massachusetts. Yeah, exactly. You
If
can.
you talk like you're if you talk like Craig, you're from New York.
Yeah.
If you talk really laid back, you're usually from California. And then
Yeah,
if you say things like patio, then you're usually from Illinois or Minnesota or Wisconsin. That's the
I
Midwest.
use y'all a lot.
Yeah, y'all is a Florida, like a southern thing for sure. Or talk like Paul Dane. That's a deep south. So, well, anyway, guys, we should probably wrap it up here. Would you guys like to maybe let everybody know how they can find you and what you're working on?
I'll go first since I'm the oddball here. You can find me on Twitter at jbtweets83. I am not on YouTube as of yet. And currently I'm waiting on some feedback from a paper that I'm writing on a takedown of Christian morality. So look out for that.
Oh, interesting. JB, I might have to have you on my channel again so we can debate that.
So
Cool.
Yeah, nice. Very nice. Thank you. So what about you guys, rest of you?
Go for it, Craig.
Yeah, you can find me on my channel's called Craig Reed TCR. And actually I just started a Parlay account too.
So
you
did
can
I.
find
Yeah,
me
join
there.
us.
And I have a Twitter. What do I got coming up? I'm going to be interviewing Drew, genetically modified skeptic's wife, next Wednesday. So that'll be fun. Watch for that. And then I put out videos all the time. Put out commentary videos on everything that pops up, everything that happens. Just about.
I have to say, I've been listening to some of your commentaries. They're pretty funny. I mean, that's definitely your take on things. Always is a little bit of a spin, so it's interesting.
Yeah, it's always pretty idiosyncratic. It's always pretty like makeshift. Like my version of stuff is not. Usually, I use things as like a jumping off point. Like I kind of use it as an excuse to talk about this, an excuse to talk about that, and I just kind of go with it, whatever I feel like talking about at the moment. But it's fun. Yeah, people like it. It's fun. It's good. It's a good time.
Yeah. No, that's good. And then Rob, how about you?
So I run Sentinel Apologetics with my good friend Hunter Bailey. but pretty much changing gears and going into a new phase of upping the quality. Like the content's there, but we're just upping the sort of aesthetic to it. And we interview scholars. In fact, I'm probably going to be interviewing Hugh Ross soon on his new book, Weather and Climate Change. We just like to stay cutting edge with the stuff. Yeah.
Well, you have the big channel out of all of us. I'll call mine a boutique channel. That's what it calls. Craig's got a boutique channel too. Oh, you've got Hugh. See, I've read 5 of Hugh's books, and I've had him on my channel a couple times. He's fantastic.
Oh,
but I haven't read that book, so I'll have to get that. I'm now. My new thing is I want to try to get Heiser on my channel, and I want to try to get Sean.
If you get
McDowell on my channel.
I'm so joining you.
Oh, I'd love that. I'd love that. You know, I'm going to try to get a whole. See, I've got his book, so I have a good reason. I'm going to tell him I'm reading his books, and I want to talk about him.
He's
That's
great.
nice.
He's a good friend.
You've had it on your channel, haven't you?
Yeah,
Pretty
and we
sure
keep in
that's
touch.
where I saw him.
We keep in touch now then by email. So.
Well, go ahead, Rob. Get Heiser on her channel.
No, I love it. It'd be great.
Oop. Says Jay breaking up.
Yeah. If Heiser wants to send him in. Yeah. No, that's great. So, well, listen, everybody. Thank you so much, everybody who's in the chat. I see Jesse Camping's joined the group since then, and Slam and The Rage. I've been on The Rage's channel, and What's the Takeaway? So thank you guys for coming in here. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this because I got to do some stuff. So thank you. Please like, subscribe, and do come again. God bless everybody.
God bless.
And okay, there we go. So I got my last night at USF. See, USF is our